What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lineman Life live stream. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Memorial Day. Would like to just say, first and foremost, thank you to those who give their service. And let's not forget about those who gave their lives in service to the country. Obviously, Memorial Weekend, generally amongst the public, while we all appreciate the actual holiday itself, it's like a party weekend for a lot of people. So, let's not forget, first and foremost, that it is actually recognizing those who have given their lives and those who give service to the country. So, happy Memorial Day, and let's get going. So, I was going to start this stream. I really, in my mind, earlier today when I was kind of like going through and looking up the topics that I wanted to talk about. I was planning on talking about Kyrie Irving and his whole situation with Boston. And we will talk about that, but I think that there's a bigger story right now, obviously, that needs to be spoken on, and we're going to get into that one first, and that is the situation with Naomi Osaka. She has just withdrawn from the French Open. That's a big story right now. Obviously, there was a little bit of controversy over the weekend with her talking about, with her posting that she was not going to be speaking with the press during her time competing in the French Open. And obviously that's something that's going to made news. And her post was pretty significant in how she laid out her entire perspective and what message she was trying to, I guess, get across. I think that really what she is speaking to is something that a lot of athletes can speak to. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at her post, just to kind of go through this in chronological order. Let's look at her post that she put out that actually details why she didn't want to speak to the press, or she was expressing that she wouldn't be speaking to the press during the tournament. This is the original tweet from Naomi Osaka. It says, "Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. I'm writing this to say that I'm not going to do any press during Roland Garros. I've often felt that people have no regard for athletes' mental health, and this rings very true whenever I see a press conference or partake in one. We're often sat there and asked questions that we've been asked multiple times before, or asked questions that bring doubt into our minds. And I'm just not going to subject myself to people that doubt me. I've watched many clips of athletes breaking down after a loss in the press room, and I know you have as well. I believe the whole situation is kicking a person while they're down, and I don't understand the reasoning behind it. Me not doing press is nothing personal to the tournament, and a couple of journalists have interviewed me since I was young, so I have a friendly relationship with most of them. However, if this organization thinks that they can just keep saying do press or you're going to be fined, and continue to ignore the mental health of the athletes that are the centerpiece of their cooperation, then I just gotta laugh. Anyways, I hope the considerable amount that I get fined for this will go towards a mental health charity. XOXO peace sign heart." Now, I read this post, and for me, there were things in there that I do agree with in her trying to get across the notion that a lot of times when you're dealing with press, they try to kind of manipulate an answer out of you with their questions. That's kind of what that's kind of their game. That's what they try to do. And, when you get more and more experience with dealing with the press, you know, you're able to see that and anticipate that much more consistently, I would say. You're able to really you can catch those things fairly quickly. Because a lot of times when you're getting interviewed, and I've had my fair share, you know, for people who are beat writers, for instance, with football, you got beat writers in every city, and those guys cover the team, and they're closest with the team, and usually their knowledge and the information that they have is put out into the bigger media sphere through like the ESPNs and the Sports Illustrateds and things like that. So, you know, these guys have a good knowledge of the people that they're dealing with, and they try to, in their time learning these players and learning, you know, learning our personalities, they tend to sometimes try to find ways to sneak in, you know, certain questions that try to get certain answers. And if you don't answer it, then you'll get another question of a similar style that kind of is, you know, circling back to a lot of those things. This is technique. It's something that journalists use. They use that to try and get more information. So she has a problem with that here, which, okay, that's fine. I don't have I'm not going to like, I'm kind of indifferent to that because, you know, some people deal with it in one way and some people don't have issues with it, and some aren't able to deal with it and do have issue with it because, you know, whatever their reason may be, they don't, you know, they get that can be an irritating thing for some people. I mean, it's true. I mean, you see that not only in sports, you see it in a number of different realms of media. I mean, the obvious one that can come up is politics. Like you see reporters ask the same question 10 different ways, trying to squeeze an answer out of the person they're interviewing. And some people don't like that. Some people do. Some people can handle it. Some people don't like it. I mean, that's where I kind of sit where when I think about this. So for me, I'm not, you know, I don't look at that and think really anything, but I get where she's coming from. And you know, you got to understand, like, tennis is a unique sport. It's a unique sport because, you know, it's kind of, and let me zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see this a little better. But, you know, tennis is a unique sport. You know, these are athletes who are mostly isolated in their work. And I mean, that, you know, I could imagine that being a little bit, presenting a little bit of a dilemma, especially for, you know, elite athletes in that sport, because, you know, your greatest highs and your lowest lows are right there, and it's just you. Like, I remember I watched, you know, and I'm a highlight watcher of tennis. I'll admit that first and foremost. I'm not super versed in tennis, but I understand it as a sport. I understand it. I you know, and obviously it's a hugely demanding physical sport. I could never do it. You know, it's just I'm too big. But you know, it does have. I can understand where there would be a sense of loneliness, a sense of isolation, generally. You know, for athletes who are in her kind of position, because, you know, there's a lot that's made of whether you win or whether you lose. There's a lot that's made all the time, and it's different than a team sport where you have, you know, guys who are collective or women or who are a collective in groups, and you feed off each other and you find motivation through your teammates. Tennis is different. Like, it's literally you. So it's a mental game more so than even football. It's a mental game, and that can have an effect on a individual. And I'm sure that there are some insecurities that can creep in there. I'm sure there are. I mean, you know, it is just that kind of sport where everything is from within. You know, even with boxing is a sport you can look at and say, you know, you got your corner. You go to your corner after every round. You know, you're being motivated. You're being coached. You're being, talked to. You're able to kind of, if you're seeing something, you can talk about it. There's a way to communicate and vent. You know, in golf, you got your caddy. Your caddy's there. He's kind of your support system as well as your ally. He's literally helping to a certain extent with you and how you approach your game and how you approach your next hole. You know, so there is a teamwork aspect that's present in most sports, even the sports that are single person sports. But tennis is a little bit different. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. I know that there's got to be a coach that you work with in tennis. I know that. But I don't think that coach is there on the court, on the tennis court. I think that coach is in the stands. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, though. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% positive on that. But tennis, and in my limited knowledge, when I have seen press conferences for Serena Williams. I've seen press conferences for some famous tennis stars, the most famous ones. I'm a casual observer of it. I'm not all in there with tennis. So really I am speaking from the outside, but I'm trying to relate it to my experience and to just what I know about dealing with the media and what I know about where, team sports and its togetherness has a contrast to sports where it's a single person athlete, but in more specific, the single person that the isolated aspect of tennis is even deeper than the single person sports. So I can see where in kind of laying out, for you right there, my kind of the structure of this perspective, I can see where there can be issues with dealing with the press as tennis athletes, who are at the top of their game. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, if she decides she doesn't want to be a part of the press or doesn't want to participate in the press portion of the tournament, then, she's going to be fined. She's going to be fined. I mean, we know that. I mean, that's kind of known in sports. If you don't deal with the media, you're going to get fined. And, I think that she's being a little bit rebellious in saying that, if organizations think they can just keep saying do press or you're going to be fired, and continue to ignore mental health of the athletes that are the centerpiece of their cooperation, then I just got to laugh. I think there's a little bit of rebelliousness in there. I think maybe she's fed up with what she feels like she's been dealing with, which at the end of the day, as long as she understands that she is beholden to an agreement that she's made to be a part of that tournament, then, what can am I going to get mad at her? No, because they're going to fine her, and she knows they're going to fine her. So, to that, I can't, that's the path she chose, and I can't get mad at that. I'm not going to get mad at that because, I mean, hey, I get it. When I walk through the process in my mind, like I just did here for the last 5 minutes, I get it. If that's what you want to do, then, and you understand the consequences that come with that, then that's on you. That's fine. That's your decision to make. And hey, I got no problem with it. Now, when she's talking about mental health, I think that that's vastly important. I think it is important. I have been quite vocal about my disdain for the NFL, PA in particular, and how it handles the issue of mental health for players. They take a very cookie cutter approach. And if you are going to judge the NFLPA by and how they handle players' mental health in any way by the collective bargaining agreements that they have negotiated, then you would know that they don't give two shits about players' mental health. They don't. They put the facade out there and they masquerade that they do, but they don't, because retired players are losing their benefits. Retired players are not given lifetime health care. So the simple fact that you're not willing to support players from a healthcare standpoint, from a standpoint of we have been playing this game, we have helped bolster and create this sport for into what it is today, and our bodies were the price that we paid for that in our minds. If you're not willing to fight for that, then we know you don't give a fuck. Plain and simple. I don't think that's controversial at all. If you know how their system works as it is now, and you know the shady backdoor deals that they've made, then you know they don't give a damn. I feel that she's standing up for what she feels is an issue that affects her directly. Now, we're going to go to her next statement, her next message, which this one was actually today, I believe. And this is today. This was earlier. This was about 5 hours ago. And this was her withdrawal from the French Open. She says, "Hey, everyone, this isn't a situation I imagined or intended when I posted a few days ago. I think now the best thing for the tournament, the other players, and my well-being is that I withdraw so that everyone can get back to focusing on the tennis going on in Paris. I never wanted to be a distraction, and I accept that my timing was not ideal, and my message could have been clearer. More importantly, I would never trivialize mental health or use the term lightly. The truth is that I have suffered long bouts of depression since the U.S. Open in 2018, and I have a really hard time coping with that. Anyone that knows me knows I'm introverted, and anyone that has seen me at the tournaments will notice that I'm often wearing headphones, as that helps dull my social anxiety. Though the tennis press has always been kind to me, and I want to apologize especially to all the cool journalists who I may have hurt, I am not a natural public speaker and get huge waves of anxiety before I speak to the world's media. I get really nervous, and I find it stressful to always try to engage and give you the best answers that I can. So here in Paris, I was already feeling vulnerable and anxious, so I thought it was better to exercise self-care and skip the press conferences. I announced it preemptively because I do feel like the rules are quite outdated in parts, and I wanted to highlight that. I wrote privately to the tournament, apologizing and saying that I would be more than happy to speak with them after the tournament, as the slams are intense. I'm gonna take some time away from the court now, but when the time is right, I really want to work with the tour to discuss ways we can make things better for the players, press, and fans. Anyways, hope you are all doing well and staying safe. Love you guys. I'll see you when I see you. Heart." And, so I think that I honestly get where she's coming from here. I do. And I think that when you look at her situation, she says that she suffered long bouts of depression since the U.S. Open in 2018. And I've had a really hard time coping with that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that 2018 was when she beat Venus or Serena and won that first major, I guess, Grand Slam title. Or that was her coming onto the scene. That was her introduction to the world. I remember because I watched when she beat her in the ceremony that goes on after the actual tournament, and she's talking to the press right out there on the court, and she is very reserved. She doesn't really have a lot to say. Like she's very, you can tell that she's not a public speaker, and she does seem introverted. She seems like a person who doesn't really do a lot of talking to people and is not really in, not really a big participant in the social part of, everyday things. She stays to herself, which I can understand that 100%. I've been there, and I've had that kind of, I'm partly that way myself. I'm not always the best with people, and I don't realize it all the time. Sometimes I come off, a little bit different than I may intend. But I think that this is, I don't see anything wrong with this. And I mean, I kind of felt like I might have a more robust response to this after initially seeing it. But, as an athlete, I who was a professional athlete for years, I understand what she's talking about, and I get it because there's a lot of people that put there are people who don't understand what it is really like in that kind of world. And I think that people a lot of times look at the fame and look at the money and look at all of the accolades and all of the events and all of the polls, and they get the wrong idea about the whole situation with athletes when it comes to mental health. Like, being rich and being famous does not in any way, shape, or form make for a happy person. It doesn't. Being in the limelight and being forced to deal with that limelight and deal with that spotlight, which means being forced to be out and be a public figure, to be a person who attends press conferences and speaks to journalists daily. That's not for everybody. That's not what everybody wants. And some people are driven into depression by it because their personality type is not compatible with that kind of lifestyle. And off the top of my head, it brings the first thing I thought about, when I kind of came to this realization of just how her personality, it's not compatible with the fame that she's acquired. The first person that came to my mind in that was Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain, head man for Nirvana, for those of you who are too young to fucking know. I love Nirvana, by the way. Kurt Cobain, in an interview, once said that he never wanted to be famous. He never wanted to be in the spotlight. He never enjoyed doing interviews. He never liked dealing with the media. He just wanted to make music. And a lot of his, a lot of added stress factors in his life, on top of the demons he fought himself, were due to the image and the perception that the media put out about him and his group, put out about him and his personal life. These are things that can affect a person's mental health. Absolutely. See, the everyday person in ourselves, we live our lives on a day-to-day basis, and our schedules and our daily going abouts are pretty regular and pretty mundane, for lack of a better word. I mean, it's the daily grind. I mean, nobody's gonna argue against that. But the life that somebody like Naomi Osaka lives is far different. Her days are likely full all the time with dealing with people, dealing with press, dealing with corporations, dealing with, all kinds of different activities, as well as training vigorously for hours daily. It's not an easy life to live. It's not. And I mean, hell, dude, I'm just an offensive lineman who played 7 years, and hey, nobody really knows who O-linemen are like that to begin with, but there are people who do. So, I've seen, I've dealt with bits and pieces of that kind of life. But can you imagine being one of the best tennis players on the planet, second ranked, I think she is, but I mean, shit, she was number one for a minute, for a good minute. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that you would be able to comfortably and without any kind of stresses or, you know, doubts about whether or not you want to continue to do this? Can you imagine living that kind of life and having people doubt whether or not, you know, you were being genuine when you talked about your mental health? I think that that is rubbish, because there's media out there that's already painting her in a bad light. They're calling her a diva. They're saying that she's not being genuine about wanting to be worried about her mental health, that she's just trying to take up a cause. Now, where do we see that coming from? Well, first and foremost, it's coming from the people at the French Open. Because this deleted tweet, don't you forget, the internet will always win. This tweet that's been deleted by the French Open is throwing direct shade at her after she made the announcement that she wasn't going to come out and speak with the press during the tournament. This is what Roland Garros, the French Open Twitter account, had to say about it. They understood the assignment. And they have pictures of forgive me for not knowing. I don't know who these tennis players are. Maybe that says something as well. I know who she is, Naomi Osaka. I don't know who these people are. But this is the response from the people who are actually running the tournament. They already thrown shade at her. And this kind of brings it back to this brings it back to what Kwame Brown said. I mean, hell, I wasn't even planning about talking about anything Kwame Brown related today, but it rings true once again. When you don't go along with what they think is the way everyone should move forward, and by they I mean the French Open in this particular instance, they say that these people understood the assignment. Okay. Well, if you're going to throw shade at her already, then you just proven her point. You literally just proven her point. She said y'all don't give a damn about mental health of athletes, and you already throw shade at her, proving that you don't. You don't. Rafael Nadal on the lower left. Well, shit, I can't. It's not his whole head. I can't. I mean, I guess I should know that. I know him when I see him on the damn tennis court. It's Rafael Nadal down here. I don't know who the hell else is there. So, you know, they're proving here that they don't care about the mental health of their athletes, at least of Naomi Osaka. At least they're proving that with this tweet. And they deleted it, which is a double down that they just proved it. They just proved it. They deleted the tweet. They deleted the tweet. I get what you're saying, but that's literally the career she chose. See, and look, man, come on. See, that's the argument that I get tired of personally. That's the argument that I get tired of personally. Why? Why? Because we all choose to play a sport that we love to play. We go out there and we play with respect for our teammates, and we play with respect for the fans. We try to make ourselves available. We try to be we try to embrace our community. And the moment that we say that we have an issue with something, the moment that we say we have a problem with how something is working within our world, in our system, and it's affecting us personally, it's the career we chose. See, that, again, proves The entire point that she's trying to make. You don't care about my mental issues. You're saying, fuck your mental issues, do the job that you signed up to do. Well, you didn't tell me that that I was going to be, suffering a depression because of it. You didn't tell me that my brain was going to, over time, degenerate into mush, and I would literally be dealing with the dementia symptoms of an 80 or 90-year-old when I'm 45. Nobody said that. So what the fuck you mean it's the career I chose? Like, come on, man. You got to be a little bit more aware than that. You got to be a little bit more aware than that, because really the fact of the matter here is that she is clearly dealing with her own mental issues. The fact that she's coming out and saying it, that takes some gusto. That does take some gusto to actually come out and talk as a person who's in a position that she's in and say that. She tried to work around. The workaround was unacceptable by the people who control that machine. Her workaround and not dealing with the media is unacceptable to them. And they fined her $15,000 already. What, does that mean something to her? They could fine her $15,000 a day for the entire time of the tournament. And what would that mean to her? Nothing. Because it's not about the money y'all fining her. People have their own preconceived notions of whether or not they think she is being genuine. That's your problem, not hers. That is your problem. She doesn't owe you an explanation, really, at all. And she doesn't have to prove a goddamn thing. Hell, they've proven beyond the shadow of a doubt what football does to football players. Doesn't seem to bother the NFL that much. Get some new helmets, some new technology, and shut the fuck up and get back out there and play because you're getting paid. All right, well, cool. Just make sure you take care of me when I retire. No. That's what it is. That's what it is. And that's what anybody who sits there and says that she chose the job, she should be, she should know what she's getting in for. No. Then you go do it. And you come back and report back to us and let us know, hey, it really is what she was talking about, or no, she was full of shit. It was easy peasy, beautiful, cover girl, whatever. I don't buy that shit. And I hate when people use that as their crutch. That's the crutch. Saying that you have you having issues mentally, that's not the crutch. Saying that you're the one who chose this profession, that's the crutch. Don't you try and put it on her that she was that fucking good at tennis that she became a tennis star and hey, it's your fault. Those are her talents. That's her determination that she put in to be the athlete she is because she loves the sport. She ain't do it for money, clearly, because she's walking away from money right now with no problem. So that's bullshit to me. Don't tell me this is the career you chose to take. No, it's the career it's the career you were born to do. The game you were born to play, but it doesn't mean that it's not that you're invincible, that you can't have any trauma. It doesn't mean that. And that's what people need to get straight. Is that it don't mean that. And when you do that, you being a bitch when you try and put it on them like that. She came out ahead of time and said that she didn't want to deal with the press because she didn't like how some things were working with them, which, hey, you can debate that all day. But also she felt like, and she hinted at, mental health issues that she was dealing with without saying it in the first post. And then when everyone starts getting on her and jumping on her and trying to create a narrative around who she is and what she is, then she has to react. She got fined by the tournament. The tournament starts making threats immediately. We're going to fucking kick you out of here. All right, peace, I'm out. That's what she did. No, y'all ain't gonna put that. I mean, come on, man. Y'all got to be real with yourselves on that one. Are we fucking zoo animals here or what? Because it's when you say it's what you chose to do, I feel like in a roundabout way, you looking at us like we fucking commodities for your entertainment, not people. If that's the case, then we got bigger problems than I thought we did. Name me one person who's ever been made happy by money. And I mean, if you pay attention to her life and her life and the things that she professes to believe in, then you would know that this is not, that this isn't a person that we should be trying to demonize and trying to paint in a negative light, because she decided to do something for her own health. Because at the end of the day, how many times have we seen situations like this where you have people who are dealing with mental health issues who are hugely in the limelight? How many times have we talked about, whether it be a year later or a decade later or 2 decades later, how many times have we talked about those people committing suicide? How many times have we talked about those people overdosing and dying? And a lot of that being tied into the mental struggles and the mental demons that they dealt with because of their fame. Come on, man. You gotta be stronger than that. That's being weak. Trying to tell them that it's what they chose to do. That's weakness right there. Mexican Iron Man. $10 super chat. Mexican Iron Man, appreciate you, brother. He says, bro, agreed with you on all points. Man, this show gets better and better every night. Great job. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much. Lavery Adam. $5, five euro here. He says, sports is a challenging environment, and like every challenging environment, it's difficult to find an approach. Where is the middle ground here? Oh, Lavery, that's a good question. Where is the middle ground here? Well, I think that, honestly, because again, I think there's always a way to relate as another person who is a professional athlete, and really, the middle ground lies with the governing body of the French Open and the other major tournaments, and them being more proactive to deal with their athletes in a more direct way, and maybe, offering different solutions here. I don't know that there's anything outside of that, because there's no union for these tennis stars. I believe there's no union. I don't think there is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there is. These are people who operate independently, and in that world, it's much harder for the employee to be seen as anything more than an asset. Look at the NFL before the NFLPA came into the picture. These were people who were considered assets, who had no kind of benefits, who had no kind of anything in way of a unified platform that gave them, that gave any kind of uniformed, I guess, voice to the athlete in negotiations, whether it's financial, in way of, contracts, or in way of revenue splits. There was none of that before the NFLPA. They don't have that. They get purses, if I'm not mistaken. They get purses for winning. But, I mean, they getting pimped because the money they making ain't shit compared to what Roland Garros is getting. It's nothing. It's nothing. So again, for people who want to look at this and have and talk down on Naomi Osaka, you got to reassess. You got to reassess, because she doesn't have nobody representing her for these corporations that are going to parade her out there to play tennis and demand that she be available for the media, demand that she be available for, photography, all these different things. It's all on them. She don't have no say in it. And there's nobody looking out for her in every sense of it. There's nobody looking out for her, so she best look out for her goddamn self. And that's what she's doing. So why would you be mad at her for that? It's not affecting a single person. If anything, it gave these other motherfuckers a chance. Because we all know she's going to walk through most of their asses. And she probably come out the winner at the end. We know that. The same way we knew when Serena got out there in prime Serena, she was walking through every one of them motherfuckers. It don't matter. Bring them all. She did it pregnant. She walked through them motherfuckers. So for me, I get pissed when I hear people talking about athletes that way, because couldn't none of y'all do what they do. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to nobody out there. I'm just saying that from a strictly professional perspective. Stop hating on this woman. She's doing things that literally 99% of people out there wish they could do. But it's different when you're doing it, because there are things that are on the opposite side of what we see on TV that are not pretty. That aren't pretty. So don't be so quick to be dismissive of somebody who's dealing with a situation in their mind that's of vast importance to them. Don't do that. In saying that, I want to point out these motherfuckers. Outkick. Outkick.com. Now, normally I wouldn't even want to give them a click, but I'm going to give them a click because they did enough for my attention to be grabbed by how literally they doing exactly what, again, it comes right back to last week. They doing exactly what Kwame was talking about. And as athletes, we all know that they do this shit. We all know that they do this shit. But this is exactly what people like Kwame Brown were talking about. This right here. Greg Couch, 4 days ago. Naomi Osaka is just a diva now. She could have meant so much more. She was going to be the face of women's sports, tennis's transition from Serena Williams, and a social justice warrior. Instead, well, she's full of BS, just like so many others who made too much money, became too famous too fast, became too full of themselves, and lost touch with reality. On Wednesday, Osaka posted on Instagram that she was not going to talk to the reporters during the upcoming French Open. I get it. The media are annoying, particularly the tennis media, who gush and idolize players. So what was her reasoning? I've often felt that people have no regard for athletes' mental health. And this rings very true whenever I see press conferences or partake in one. She wrote, "Wait, what?" This is Exhibit A. This is Exhibit A. This is somebody who, for one, don't know a goddamn thing about Naomi Osaka. Clearly. He's calling her a diva. He clearly don't know this woman. Okay, your opinion, but it's stupid, in my opinion. So, she could have meant so much more. Wow, that just sounds so condescending, because I know from reading this thing thus far, it feels like he doesn't really mean that. He doesn't really mean that. She was going to be the face of women's sports. Tennis is transition. She's already that. She already been that since 2018, my friend. What are you talking about? Oh my gosh. But he immediately throws into doubt, in his mind, anything that she has said, simply because she said that she was not going to speak with the press during her time at the French Open. And he admits here, I get it. The media are annoying, particularly the tennis media who gush and idolize players. So in this small sentence here, he even acknowledges that that media in particular is a different kind of media. So he's actually acknowledging that the tennis media is a far more aggressive, likely, and far more just kind of what's the word I'm thinking of? They are much more of an intrusion into that player from a psychological standpoint in how they deal with them. I mean, look, I think about people like Serena Williams, and on her end, she dealt with a lot of shit from the media. Because people, pundits made comments about her that were fucking totally uncalled for. Like, totally uncalled for. Like, if it was me, we'd be fighting. Or I'd be talking real bad to people who said some of the things they said about Serena. But in this situation, Naomi was kind of the opposite of Serena. And that's what drew all this media to her. And that's where they kind of started to idolize her, because they felt like she was the good girl, the one who does everything the way we want it. And, she's doing what, she's being told. That's why they idolized her, because she represented in their eyes. And when I say in their eyes, I'm speaking of the major tennis media, the major tennis governing bodies of their tournaments and all of that. They looked at her as the good little soldier. That's what they see her as. But that's not the case. She is her own individual person who clearly is a more introverted type than Serena. That's an easy thing to see at first glance. And regardless of that, she still is a person who is not she is proven here that she is a person who is not going to ignore when she has a problem. Because the good little soldier, you know what the good little soldier does? The good little soldier does what he's told. The good little soldier does what she's told. The good little soldier ignores their own pain and their own problems to serve the machine. Now, in football, that is somewhat a part of the game, because you have other people who are dependent on you. You have other people who are dependent on you. But even then, when it gets to a point where it affects you on the field, where it could affect you on the field, even people on your team will tell you, don't you go out there and play a game the way and at the level we play it. Don't you go out there if you do not think you can go out there. If you know in your heart you're too hurt or something's wrong, don't go out there. You know who that reminds me of? That reminds me of Big John Henderson. Big shout out to John Henderson. I love that man. He was a teammate in Jacksonville. Big John Henderson was a staple of our defense in Jacksonville. And this was during, some good years. A playoff run. 3 close, playing in the last week to get into the playoffs 3 years in a row after that. And Big John, and look, I won't even, I'm obviously, he had something personal going on, and I will not speculate because I didn't know, and none of us on the team really knew what was going on. They talked about it in the media because he left the team. He left the team for weeks. He left the team I don't even remember. I think he left the team for damn near the whole season. But it was a big deal in football, in the NFL. It was a big deal because he was a well-known player in the NFL. This is a guy who'd already been to the Pro Bowl multiple times. This is a guy who was one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. It was him and shit. What was his name? Albert Haynesworth. It was him and Albert Haynesworth who came out of University of Tennessee and were considered these, unbelievable specimens at defensive tackle. And Big John was gone, and none of us knew why. None of us knew why. None of us asked why. We just gave him our support. He was one of our best players on defense. We gave him our support. We didn't ask why he was gone, even though we kind of could speculate because we kind of had a small idea, but it was not our place to make any assumptions about John Henderson. So we did not. We supported our teammate. We wished him, to get well and to get back when he can. Not because he's a part of our team that he should be here and he's selfish if he's not here. See how that works? That's a team environment. This is an individual. And they're going to say she's a diva. She's a diva because she decided to take care of her own over motherfuckers who are making billions off of her. What's millions to a billionaire? Nothing. Come on, man. Come on. That's madness. That's madness to look at that situation and come to the conclusion Naomi Osaka is just a diva now. But hey, we got more. Because in this article here, with the same guy, Greg Couch, the next day, he says Naomi Osaka coming across as if she doesn't want to address real issue. If Naomi Osaka is struggling with her mental health, then that's what she should have said. That would be helpful. That would have been powerful, especially coming from someone celebrated as a strong woman and the world's most prominent female athlete. That's how I'd always seen her. Reading this shit, it don't sound like he believes that one bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know he's lying here, but it sounds that way. It sounds disingenuous, but because these phrases are phrases that I've heard, used in a condescending manner plenty. Anyways, but that's not what she said this week in announcing that she's going to boycott the press during the French Open. She never said she was going to boycott. I just read you guys the message. She said she wasn't going to do, but she did not use the word boycott. Using the word boycott is an instant buzzword that is meant to actually produce a certain kind of feeling about the person that's being talked about. So, one of tennis's major championships. What she said was that the media are bullies. Let's hold on. Maybe I missed something. Let me see. Let's go through one real quick. We often sat there and asked questions that we've been asked multiple times before, or asked questions that bring doubts into our minds, and I'm just not going to subject myself to people that doubt me. Did she say bullies? Did she say that the media is bullies anywhere? The media makes athletes answer the same question over and over. The media now he quotes her. The media have no regard for athletes' mental health, and this rings very true whenever I see a press conference or partake in one. Osaka didn't say that she's having mental health issues. What she said was that the media are perpetuating mental health issues in athletes. She took it on as a cause. This is bigger than a typical blame the media issue. I wrote about this here yesterday, criticizing Osaka for hijacking the important issue of mental health when her case doesn't fit that at all. How the fuck would you know? Mr. Couch? How would you know? This is the problem with the media. This is the problem with the media. How would you know what is going on in her daily life? Do you live with her? Are you in her head? But you're sure making a lot of presumptions about who she is without having any actual real knowledge of her life, of her daily life. Who the fuck are you to even go there? That's the problem that I have. Doesn't matter who the fuck they are. Psychiatrist. A psychiatrist is not going to diagnose someone by watching them on TV. This is disingenuous journalism. That's what this is. But let's continue reading it. At least not based on what she said. It took off on Twitter with what I'd guess to be a 60-40 split in favor of what I'd written. Oh, so it's about you now. It's about you? It's not about her, it's about you, proving that you right about her. But you don't know the woman. You haven't sat down and actually evaluated her in a medical setting. I don't give a fuck what PhDs or what degrees you have. No doctor is going to diagnose somebody with cancer if he ain't done a test and actually sat down with that person and went through the steps to actually give a diagnosis. So who the fuck are you to come on here in the online realm and put out an article as if you know a person, as if you have the actual power and know-how to diagnose a person based on an Instagram post or Twitter post? Come on. You're insulting your reader's intelligence. And you're hiding behind your credentials to give it credibility. But you don't know her. Come on, man. We all of us see psychiatrists. Fuck out of here with that. Anyways, continue. But the response against my argument was mostly angry people saying I shouldn't attack someone who was standing up for mental health issues. This was among the legitimate responses anyway. That was among the legitimate responses anyways. Others include people saying I don't like her because she's a strong black woman. Condescending. I am the one standing up for mental health issues here. Oh, it's about you again. You're the one standing up for it, not her. Okay. Osaka isn't. I'm calling for her to represent a strong black woman athlete as she always had before. But this time she isn't. You see, this is the game. This is the language game that a psychiatrist would play. This is the language game that a psychiatrist plays with people who they view as patients to try and lead and guide their thought processes. That's what's happening right here as we speak, reading this. Ha! That's crazy because I'm a psychology major and that literally brought me back to my psychology class. This is literally trying to guide the reader into a specific zone, a specific realization based on their perspective, based on their own narrative. This is a narrative that you're being literally psychologically, I would say, assaulted with, because this is indoctrination is a little bit different. This is like them trying to this is like an attack on somebody who comes into this neutrally, not really having any real thought on this particular topic. And this is literally hitting all of the triggers in your brain that guide you into different thought processes, into seeing things from a different way, having a different opinion. This is it right here. This is it. Masquerading as sports journalism. Fuck out of here. What she did was trivialize the serious issue of mental health struggles that people really have now. She was equating her desire not to answer media questions with people who have serious diseases that make it hard to live their lives. People who have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. So he knows whether or not she has a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. Does your boss know whether you have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning? I'm sure there's plenty of you that do. I have at points in my life. I absolutely have. So, who the fuck would be somebody who could you respect if they told you that you weren't feeling what you was feeling because they saw They saw you a video of you on Facebook or on your Instagram, and they say, "Oh, no, 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 no." If your boss saw a video of you, talking about your struggle for the day on your Facebook or on your Instagram, and when you tried to tell your boss that you couldn't come into work because you wasn't feeling well, and your boss told you you're full of shit, come to work, what would your reaction be? Because that's essentially how this entire story about her, not this article, fuck the article, this is a psychological fucking exercise to try and push you into thinking how he thinks. But in general, how many people, if you look at this entire situation, how many people could say that she hasn't at the very least tried to communicate that she was dealing with an issue mentally? I think anyone who looks at this and just is not trying to pick a side, you have to acknowledge whether, you have to acknowledge her expressing that she's having an issue. She tried to put it out in a very coy way in her first message. She didn't want to say it directly. In her message withdrawing from the tournament, she said it directly. If you want to hate on that, that's on you. Like, anybody who wants to take it any other way than how she's presenting it, because it's her life and it's her losing the money. It's her who got fined. It's her who's not going to compete for that championship. That's like saying I'm not going, that's like saying if you're in the Super Bowl that 3 days before the game, you say you're not going to play in it because you got mental health issues. You know how hard of a decision that is for a person to make? You may never be in that position again in your life, and you're walking away from it. Who does that if they're lying, if they're just taking up a cause, if they're being disingenuous? Nobody does that. Nobody who's a professional does that, because that's what you're working for. That's everything you worked for. Why would you walk away from it unless it was something that was dead ass serious? People got to understand that, man. People got to understand that. You can't make it as simple as you chose to be a part of this. People, what? Is it their fault that they love playing a sport? Everything else on top of it is additional. That's all that people have built on top of it. They're trying, because they wanted to build her up as this, and she don't want to be that. Now they want to tear her down. And it's exactly what they do. This is the process. So let's go ahead and try and get through some more of this. I don't even know if I want to get through the whole article, because we see the direction it's going in. And I'm seeing all these little tricks he's using in this, and it's obvious. That's not the same. Okay. That's not the same as I don't want to have to answer the same questions over and over again. This isn't to attack Osaka. It's to disagree with her. There is a difference. Okay, look, that's bullshit. This is literally just a complete bold-faced lie, because he's already stated his position. She's full of bullshit. She could have meant so much more. He's already put it out there. Just like so many others who made too much money, became too famous too fast, became too full of themselves and lost touch with reality. He's already laid out his cards as a motherfucking hater. As a hater. That's what he's already done. And in here, he's making it about him. He's the real advocate for mental health. He is, not Naomi Osaka. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. It really is. It really is. This is garbage. This is garbage. Now he's going on talking about Dak Prescott. Okay, blah 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 blah. No, I think that's a good spot to stop on that article. And then here, of course, is the withdrawal, the article on her withdrawal. Now, to make this, to get through this in a snap, they basically go through the entire thing, that she said. They take out the excerpts from the message that she said she's withdrawing. And again, they talk about the shade here that they've thrown. And my issue is that, my only real issue with this is that, they really, it appears that Outkick has taken the stance that she's a diva, because the people who are writing and contributing to their website, that's how they've deemed it. And they're telling her she needs to drop the diva routine. This is the kind of thing that makes athletes not want to deal with the media. This is the kind of thing that makes them be combative towards, pundits. Because pundits, a lot of them really don't know for firsthand at all what the fuck it's like to do what those people do. So already they're speaking from a total place of ignorance. You got no idea. So why not just, temper your bullshit until you get some more details in there? Controversy sells to them. So they're going to do whatever. They're going to paint a picture of somebody in the way they see fit, because they know it's going to garner them more and more attention. So I guess I'm just pointing this out in regards to Naomi and her situation, because I have been there in my own mind. I have been there. I know what she's talking about. I understand what she's talking about. And at the end of the day, it's her decision. It will cost her. She knows that. People will come out and they will vilify her. She knows that. But at the end of the day, for people who really are more in line as her peers, can't none of us be mad at her. Take care of yourself. Fuck them. What? When you come back, they're going to be on your ass. They're going to be on you with heaping all this praise and making a story about your comeback and this and that is the moment you walk back in the door. But know that they don't give a fuck. No, they don't care. That way you can use them more than they can use you. And that's where, athletes are beginning to really understand that, hey, at the end of the day, can't do this shit if I ain't there, especially in team sports. If we decide we're walking out the door and we ain't playing, how y'all gonna make money? Y'all gonna call us this and that. Y'all gonna talk about, and I ain't tuning in no more. But hey, if there ain't no games going on at all, how y'all gonna make money? That's what players are starting to understand, the power they have, which in and of itself is a double-edged sword. I will not deny that. Some of them do shit that is annoying, to say the least. But being more self-aware of the actual power that they have, to me, is a good thing. That's the first step to balancing the scales. Because when you got power that you can exert too, then you know where to actually attack, to actually have a real effect on those who have placed themselves so far above you, then you can balance the shit back out. But you need leaders who are gonna make sensible decisions to help create that. I look at the NFL, and usually with team sports at least, those leaders are supposed to be the union that represents the players. The NFL has a problem there as well. Well, the players in the NFL have a problem there because the leaders that they have are corrupt. So, that's where they're going to have issues really being able to take advantage of that power. But Naomi Osaka here, again, I believe when somebody says that they're having issues, if you don't give them that respect and recognize, regardless of what you think personally, because what you think personally means absolutely nothing. But if you are going to take a public stance on her and her decision that she made when she came out and actually expressed even more specifically what her issue is, if you're going to have a public stance on that is not at the very least respectful of her decision because of her circumstance as she has laid it out, then you're just being an ignorant asshole. And you shouldn't, you shouldn't be surprised when people call you that. You shouldn't be surprised because it's really, it's hurtful. It is hurtful personally to a person when you tell somebody the truth and they don't believe you. That's hurtful. That's hurtful. It's gotta hurt. I've been in that position where I've told someone the truth and they didn't believe me and it hurt. I felt hurt by that. That is what you're doing if you are making excuses for the French Open as to why they should be mad at her, or if you're mad at her because you feel like she owes the French Open something. She don't owe them jack shit. She withdrew. She owed them interviews and she refused to do it, so they fined her, as they have every right to do. And because it became a bit, as she is saying, in her mind, because it became a bigger issue, which I can believe that because Naomi Osaka is Japanese. I know a thing or two about just kind of the culture there. Japanese culture does not want, people do not want to cause burdens for other people. And when you're a public figure, as she is, and with this becoming such a huge story, that can be a that was going to be a big distraction and a shadow that loomed over the tournament, that she was not going to be talking to reporters. So seeing that distraction there, I'm sure that created more stress for her and created more anxiety for her. So she wants to withdraw to have respect for her peers. And she's even showing respect, even acknowledging that she wants to show respect for the tournament itself and doesn't want to, and isn't taking a stance of fuck them. She's just saying, I will bow out to respect the tournament and to respect the other tennis players because this is my issue and I tried to work around it and it's not going to work. Do I have a problem with the way things are done with in y'all's process? Yes. And I would like to see some things change, but to just cut this thing down right here, right now, I am done talking. I'm done. I'm going to back out and I am going to take some time away from the sport, period. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And that's a big decision to make. Like, respect that decision. Don't pile on this woman. She don't deserve it. She don't deserve it. Now, moving on from that, I had to give that its just time. I had to because I really, mental health for athletes for me is a big deal. It's a big deal because I know, me, myself, and I know so many others who've had issues. I know guys who still have issues. I know guys who are no longer here. So that's real for me. Like, I'm not going to put myself and try and pick on anything she's talking about because that shit is real. And people who can't understand that, people who can't understand that, you just can't understand it. But you should probably not talk about it because you don't understand it. You don't, because you don't live in that life. So bringing, and I think, honestly, that this actually has a perfect relevance. Athlete mental health has a perfect relevance to the situation with Kyrie Irving and the Boston Celtics. Whew, sweating. These lights. But before we get into that, let me take a look at the chat. Let me see what you guys are talking about in here. Because, I was going for a minute there. I want to make sure, Let me see. This guy's a joke. And he thinks his opinions matter more than her. Yeah, absolutely. You guys, yeah. No, I see a lot of guys in here. I see a lot of you in here talking about, kind of agreeing with some of the things I've said. I know there's some of y'all in here that didn't necessarily had different takes on it, which is fine. I don't. You're more than welcome to have a different take. I don't have any problem with that. But, that, if somebody with firsthand experience kind of brings you that information, it's you would think that there's truth to it. That's all I'm saying. But Kyrie Irving and his situation with the Boston Celtics. Now, this one is kind of, in my opinion, this entire situation with Kyrie Irving, it's speaking to a larger issue that's going on right now in the NBA. And honestly, it's a little bizarre to me. I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me why, after a year and a half of being stuck inside, of not having any kind of real fan interaction with professional athletes, after a year of all of this, plus people are now getting back into the stands. People are now getting back to being able to enjoy sporting events, concerts, all these things of different, all these different public events. Like, things are kind of getting back to normal, whatever the fuck normal is in this country anymore. Because, I mean, other than being able to go out and do, go to events and things of that nature, normal is a very hard thing to really pin down in the United States. But I digress. The last week has been an ugly week for fans in the NBA. And I think that, honestly, fans are tripping. I think they're tripping. I mean, look, at the end of the day, let's be real here for a second. You came to watch a game. Why in the hell would you put yourself in a situation where you're leaving in handcuffs? Getting banned from the arena for life. Why? I know he stepped on y'all's logo. So what? Motherfucker, that shit is a piece of wood on the ground. It's a fucking rivalry. Y'all hate this motherfucker because he left y'all. Y'all hate him because he ain't want to stick around no more. He felt he was unappreciated. Y'all had a chance to get y'all revenge. First round of the playoffs. Nets versus Celtics. Y'all had y'all's chance. And y'all got y'all ass whooped. So what's the problem? What exactly is the problem? He celebrated. It's not like he danced on the shit, like he danced on y'all's logo, or he did like a pose like Terrell Owens did in Dallas back in the early 2000s. It's not like he ran to midfield as soon as the buzzer went off and just jumped on y'all shit and just did the he didn't do none of that. He may as well have been trying to get some damn gum off his shoe on the logo, the way that he just swiped his feet on it like 2 times and then turned and walked off. But you're going to throw a bottle at him. You're going to throw a bottle at him. Last week, Trae Young, you mad because we winning. You mad because I'm balling, so you going to spit at me? You spit at a man. You spit at him like a bitch. When you know damn well, even with little old Trae Young, and I don't even know how small he is, but hell, basketball players, they're not like, it's a difference between basketball players and football players. It's not the same kind of big. But you wouldn't do that to him if you were standing at the very doors to enter into their locker room and you were allowed to stand right there and he came walking out, you would not do that. So why are you going to get yourself banned for life being an asshole? Because now that's what you got. You're banned for life. This dude got a felony charge. Russell Westbrook. Shit, the man just got hurt on the court again. He's wobbling back to go to the locker room. His night's done. They getting their ass kicked. You gonna stand up and you gonna lean over, and they got your ass on camera in 1080p, maybe not 4K. And you gonna spill over and try and spill your entire bag of popcorn that you bought on Russell Westbrook. I mean, if you're thinking about this from any kind of logical standpoint, then it's pretty easy to see that all these motherfuckers got problems with certain kind of players. Players who speak their mind. Players who do what's best for them. Players who literally are at the top of their craft. Once again, somebody doing something you don't even have the genetic disposition to do. But you a fan, right? You there to enjoy the game? Or do you want to actually take on this person? Because we've seen what happens there too. We've seen what happens when you push one of them over the edge and they say, fuck it, I'm going to go get that guy. We've seen the terror in that motherfucker's face as Ron Artest came running up them damn steps and he knew that motherfucker was coming for him. We've seen the terror. So if you're going to be a bitch like that when it gets real, why are you going to try and stand behind as a fan and do what you're doing out there? Why? Why would you do that? If you're stupid, just say you're stupid and we can close the book and that can be that. It's over with. We ain't even got to worry. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. But if you got a problem, then then be a man about it at least. Be a man. Cuss at the motherfucker like every other fan does. Cuss at him. But just be careful when you cuss too, because them Boston fans are notorious for a certain kind of way that they treat certain kinds of players. And that's across the board in every sport in that area. Now, me personally, I've played in out there a couple times. I never dealt with anything like that. Again, I'm an offensive lineman. Ain't nobody even paying attention to me. I ain't got to worry about that so much. But I damn sure see it when I see it. So it's at the end of the day, once again, what do you people want? You've been stuck in your houses all year. You hadn't been able to enjoy the game the way that, you should enjoy it. In the stands, with your friends, eating your popcorn, eating your chips, your nachos, whatever the hell it may be, drinking your drinks, cheering on your team, cussing out the other ones. But as soon as, you guys get back into this thing, motherfuckers like this start showing why players who speak their mind have come at fans in the way that they do about stuff. This is a cause and effect all the way. Cause and effect. I'm strongly behind the players in dealing with this kind of situation because there's so many layers. There's so many layers that really do affect, players in how they feel about dealing with with the public. You know, for the football world, you know, the lightning rod issue that we always end up coming back to, that always ends up coming back into the spotlight at some point, is the kneeling. The kneeling created a certain level of animosity from fans to players, but even at that, I can at least say that fans, at least to my knowledge, did not start throwing shit at players, did not start trying to actually throw and hit players with things. That wasn't happening. But I do want to, let's see if it's here. Yeah, here we go. I do want to, show this and really, I want to, because full disclosure, I'm not a huge Kevin Durant fan at all. I don't know that I really have a reason. I don't think that I really have a reason why I'm not a huge Kevin Durant fan. I think, for me, I feel like guys who chase rings ain't champions. I felt like Kevin Durant kind of chased the ring when he went to Golden State. I think that's what kind of turned me off to him. The same way that I got turned off with LeBron James when he went to Miami. I said, man, I was never like a huge LeBron fan, but I respect, and I do respect his talent. His talent is phenomenal. Absolutely. But I'm just not a fan of his from a basketball etiquette standpoint. I feel like the greatest players, the greatest champions, the most memorable champions are the ones who often are built more in the traditional sense as a team. Golden State drafted, the team that they had when they won championships. They drafted that team. They built that team. The Dallas Mavericks, they built that team. The Mavericks for years, as a diehard Mavericks fan, the Mavericks for years had such a good team that was missing one critical piece that always resulted in those guys getting knocked out of the playoffs by their rival, the San Antonio Spurs. One time by the Suns, but the Spurs were usually the victim, were usually the ones who made them the victim. So, in seeing in 2011, those Dallas Mavericks with Dirk beat that super team with Miami, that was huge for me because that was a team that had been built and had fought through their ups and downs, and it wasn't. And it was literally the traditional basketball championship structure versus this new super team era. It was the first head-to-head of philosophies on how to win a championship and what wins a championship. It was the first time. And the traditional superstar, one superstar, a sidekick, and crucial role players who all contributed in major ways when they were needed, it once again won out over your super team. It won out. And so that was huge for me. I loved that. So when I see guys running around chasing rings and just joining with two other 10-time All-Stars, it's like, come on, dude. Sometimes, isn't it better to be the guy and then help uplift all your teammates? Isn't that the better way to take it than just to we all is balling ass superstars and we all want 40 points a night or else. I feel like that would always be kind of counterproductive because there can only be one real star I'm talking about one just penultimate star. Two at the most. Yes, you had Shaq and Kobe, but that even was a unique situation because them motherfuckers hated each other. They hated each other. You had two stars and then very good supporting role players that played around them. So always, so even that team was really not a super team, but it became a super team because those players just continued to elevate their game, by leaps and bounds. You know what I mean? So Jason Terry's my homie. I know Dirk. I know Jason Terry. Dirk gave me his playoff jersey from his MVP season. I got it framed up in my in my other office. Dirk is my favorite player of all time. Jason Terry, cool ass cat. I know Jason Terry. Shoot. But yeah, Jason Terry definitely fired them boys up when we played Miami in 2011. I was there game 3. I was sitting floor seats right behind LeBron. Dirk had got me tickets. I was sitting floor seats right behind him talking shit. Fuck you, LeBron. Coming over here, running with the Miami Heat. Why can't you win nothing in Cleveland, bum? That was me. If you go back and you watch that game, I think it was I was at one of the Lakers games. I had to see. That was my first time ever seeing Kobe play. I had to see Kobe play. We swept them motherfuckers, but I had to see Kobe. I'm so thankful I got to see Kobe while he was playing. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. But that was one of the, that was a huge moment for me. Seeing him play, seeing him in real life was freaking awesome. But I digress. Let me get back on topic here. So I actually, for not being a big Kevin Durant fan, I actually thought this was a very well put statement. And I don't think that he's attacking fans here. I really don't. I think he's just being real with fans. I think he's being real. So let's listen to this real quick, and then we can bring this whole thing to a wrap. Let's listen to what KD got to say. Hold on. Let me make sure my shit is on so I can hear too, cuz.
That this season even has to be asked, but someone tried to toss a water bottle at Kyrie, or did toss a water bottle at Kyrie as you guys were walking off the floor. Just your thoughts on just, again, an unfortunate act, and the fan was arrested, but just what can be done about, again, protecting players in situations like this?
I mean, fans got to grow up at some point. I know that being in the house for a year and a half with the pandemic, got a lot of people on edge, got a lot of people stressed out. But when you come to these games, you got to realize, man, these men are human. We not animals. We not in a circus. You coming to the game is not all about you as a fan. So have some respect for the game, have some respect for these human beings, and have some respect for yourself. Your mother wouldn't be proud of you throwing water bottles at basketball players or spitting on players or tossing popcorn. So grow the f*** up and enjoy the game. It's bigger than you.
I think that's pretty well said. I think that's pretty on point. I mean, like I said before, why would you come to a game and risk getting banned for life for doing some stupid shit after having to sit at home all damn last year? Why would you do that? Grow the fuck up. Grow the fuck up. I mean, he's 100% correct. I don't think that there's a false syllable in this entire little clip that we got for Kevin Durant right here. I think he's being real. I think he's being real. And I see Snake Oiler here. Uche, you were screaming obscenities at LeBron. Yeah, I was talking shit. And nobody has a problem with that. I don't think anybody has a problem, player or people, who were there, with fans talking shit. I mean, that's accepted. That's not really that's not considered a bad thing. Now, talking shit is also one thing. There's still a line you don't need to cross when talking shit. Because, again, this ain't no zoo, and we ain't animals. We are here entertaining you. Playing a sport we love to play, But we also respect the game. We also want you to respect the game. Like, again, if your parents had to sit there and watch the camera footage of you throwing a bottle at Kyrie Irving, what can you imagine that your parents would feel? I'm sure that the very first emotion that they would have would be embarrassment. They would be embarrassed because they probably thought they raised a kid that was a little bit smarter than that. And the world right now, to the world, it don't look that way. It don't look that way for the guy who poured the popcorn because they got him on camera. It don't look that way for the guy who spit. They got him on camera. It don't look good for the guy who threw a bottle of Kyrie Irving. They got it on camera. Well, he stepped on our logo. He stepped on our logo. The fuck? Come on, dude. Like, no. Who gives a fuck if he stepped on your logo? Y'all burn their jerseys. Do they come to your house and kick you in the face? No. If they did, that would be pretty embarrassing for that guy's family, for that player's family. And he'd be sued and probably lose a lot of money. So I really don't see I don't understand why people are acting like complete shitheads as fans when it's much easier to just enjoy the game. If your team loses, then maybe you should be throwing something at the head coach or the owner of the team instead. Get some players that can win. If you're going to be violent against somebody, if you got to pick one and you want your team to be better, you might as well throw something at them. No, I kid about throwing something at anybody, but the sentiment is get mad at, figure out how to win rather than get mad at the people who beat you. Shit. That's the logical way to look at this. You can be mad that you lost to them, but who are you going to get mad at? Them or your guys who could not win the game when they had a chance? They got 5 guys on the court. Y'all got a superstar player who, honestly, if you're, is he as good as Kyrie? No, but he is pretty damn good. This is bizarre to me that NBA fans, and I hope this shit don't cross over into football, because that would be some bullshit. But we've seen that too, though, honestly. Like, I'm not going to kid myself here. We've seen, there have been there are famous fan assaults on players in the NFL. I remember when Jacksonville beat Cleveland in Cleveland, and when they were running off the field, fans are pelting them with bottles of beer. Like, we've seen worse. We have seen worse. But in today, and that was decades ago. But in today's more civilized society, that's just kind of like, look, everybody looks at that as some dumb shit because it just doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Now there are some people out there who are trying to attribute race to it. I wouldn't eliminate it as a potential part of the issue, but I wouldn't put that at the forefront and say that it's the reason why, because he's black. Maybe with Boston, Boston's a little notorious, but even with that, I would at best give it like 50-50. The kid was pissed off, black motherfucker, throws the bottle. I think that's probably, if I could imagine what was going on in his head, that's a 50-50 possibility. But I wouldn't put that at the forefront and say that is the reason why he did it. I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't. I don't believe that. But I do believe that there's a chance. I believe there's a possibility based on the history of that city's fans. That is the logical way to assess it, I would think. You can't say that it's certainly not a reason, but based on the history of Boston fans and how they actually are very bold in their racism, and to a certain extent. And I'm not saying all fans there. I'm saying a portion that has made y'all look very bad. With the data that I have, that's kind of where I would be with it. 50-50. 50-50, but I'm not going to harp on it. I'm going to say that this guy is more an idiot than maybe a racist. But there's probably some racism in there that's, right under the surface. But I'm still not going to put that out there as the defining reason because I can't prove that. But he's a fucking idiot. That much we can prove. That is much easier to prove. So, woo! It's an ugly situation for basketball right now with that in that regard. I actually think these playoffs have been all right. I think they've been good playoffs, and it's been good basketball. It hasn't been, it hasn't been as flush with all of the fucking virtue signaling as it was last year, which I am appreciative that they dialed that back a notch because, hey, I'm all for, wanting to present the image of giving a fuck, but even I know that below the surface, it might be that because the players give a fuck, maybe just a little bit the corporation gives a fuck, but they don't really give a fuck. They don't really care. But it's, society dictates that you can't show that you don't give a fuck just like that. So I'm appreciative that the NBA has dialed back some of that heavy-handed, all too much in my damn face signaling for, these different the political movement stuff. I mean, that's cool. That's fine. I don't have a problem with politics in sports to a very certain extent because politics is generally a part of sports, whether we like it or not. There's always an element of it that exists there. But, it's people will make it more than it is, but it's and try to make it sound like it never was a part of sports before. But man, you can go back every 5 years and pull political statements from athletes regarding situations that are happening in society. You can literally go back every 5 years, as far back as you fucking want to, and you will find political statements that have been made. So don't tell me that that you don't want politics in sports. Politics been in sports. It's been in sports forever, and it will continue to be in sports. I just don't want it to fucking interrupt the experience of the game, which is a very tricky balancing act for any sports organization to pull off. But the NBA just went full dead on. We gonna drape ourselves in this shit and y'all gonna like it. And that, I think, was a mistake. And it was proven to actually be a mistake if you looked at their ratings, because their ratings were dog shit all of last year. And it's weird because honestly, which, this was a weird thing. Last year, a lot of sports ratings were down when you would have thought that a lot of sports ratings would have been up. I know the NFL ratings were down. The basketball ratings were down. I'm pretty sure they didn't even do baseball. So, it was ugly. But, fans are able to get back into really enjoying sports. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it. That's part of what's so awesome about being involved in sports like that. Being a sports fan, being a big fan of your team, is that when you win and those big victories are always the best feelings, and you are endlessly pissed off when the big losses happen. But that's the love-hate part of it. That's what makes it the experience it is. When you cross that line and start like really hating a person, even if you don't, even if you have a grudge against him for the way that he left Boston, which is fine. Have a grudge, like don't like the guy, but when you cross a line into now you want to actually harm that dude, I mean, come on, man. Now you just need to go sit your ass down and chill because you want some bullshit. So that's all I have to say about that. But that's going to be it for Lineman Life. I did want to go into the Julio Jones situation, but I don't think we got time for that. And honestly, I feel like as far as Julio is concerned, that's going to be the biggest to talk about when it actually happens. So probably good that we didn't really get into it like that today. But I do want to say thank you very much to everybody for being in here today. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already done so. And if you are thinking about supporting the channel, you can become a member to help support that way. Totally up to you. But I do appreciate all you guys for being in here. We will be back again tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I am your observant lineman, Uche Nwaneri. Appreciate you guys so much for being here. I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.